The movie opens with a spectacular location in Ecuador. A group of people is baptizing a young girl named Rosa. Father Mayor performs the baptism ritual, and afterward, Candace and Joel congratulate Rosa. Candace and Joel are a married couple with a son named Elliot, who is currently playing with two other children, Rahul and Thomas. Elliot throws a toy plane into the air, and it lands inside a nearby cave. Elliot starts to head toward the cave, but Rahul and Thomas warn him not to go in. Ignoring their warnings, Elliot enters the cave. He finds his plane, but as he reaches for it, a shaman grabs his hand. Startled, Elliot flees, leaving his watch behind in the cave. Father Mayor, Candace, and Joel have come to this small community to convert the native people. The locals have their own ancient religion, but Candace and Joel are teaching them English and then converting them to Christianity, just as we saw with Rosa's baptism. Elliot's confirmation is scheduled for the next morning. Confirmation is a sacrament in the Christian church where baptized individuals consciously accept their faith and receive a blessing from the Holy Spirit. In simple terms, it's the next step after baptism, where a person officially confirms their faith. Candace tells Elliot to be sure to wear his grandfather's watch for the confirmation. But, as you'll recall, Elliot's watch fell into the cave. So, that night, Elliot goes back to the cave to retrieve it. Inside, he sees a mask and several dead animals, suggesting some kind of ritual has taken place. Suddenly, several scorpions crawl onto Elliot. Panicking, he twists his foot and falls. Back at their home, Candace and Joel are intimate. The next morning, they discover Elliot is missing. They begin searching for him, and based on something Joel mentions, Candace realizes Elliot might be at the cave. She goes there and finds the shaman, who tells her they found Elliot collapsed in the cave and have given him soup and put him to bed at his home. Candace rushes to the shaman's house and, despite the shaman's protests, takes Elliot and leaves immediately. Because of his twisted ankle, Elliot can't walk properly. A local elderly woman offers him her walking stick. However, the woman suddenly pushes Elliot away, as if sensing something wrong within him. Regardless, Elliot heads straight to the church for his confirmation. During the ceremony, Candace spots a scorpion crawling on Elliot's body. In that moment, Elliot also stares at Candace in a strange, unsettling way, but the next second, everything seems normal. Everyone is curious as to why Elliot was late for his own confirmation. Candace lies, telling everyone that he had a stomachache. Meanwhile, we see the shaman and one of his disciples discussing Elliot. The shaman says that Elliot has broken a barrier, and as a result, an entity will surely come to him. In the next scene, the elderly woman who gave Elliot her walking stick has drowned. Everyone gathers for her funeral to pay their final respects. That night, Candace wakes up and finds Elliot's bed empty. She goes outside and finds him lying stiffly on the ground. She immediately calls Joel, and they bring Elliot inside. Candace tries to warm him up with a hot shower, since it's cold outside, but dirty water comes out of the faucet. Suddenly, Elliot screams and then regains consciousness. Candace and Joel put him back in his bed and decide to take him to a doctor. But since this is a remote location, a doctor would take 3 days to arrive. They decide to show Elliot to Father Mayor the next morning, as he was a medic in the army during his youth. The next morning, Candace finds a clay idol outside their house, which her husband had picked up from the street. However, Candace suspects the shaman placed it there, believing he gave her son something that made him sick. She rushes to the shaman's house, where he is performing a ritual to heal an old woman's bone pain. Candace starts yelling at the shaman's disciple, accusing them of doing something to her son. On her way back, Candace runs into Rosa, who confronts her about the lie she told everyone about Elliot's stomachache. Rosa says that Candace teaches everyone not to lie, according to her religion, yet she herself has lied. Rosa suggests that Candace should confess and purge her wrongdoing. Candace agrees and returns home. She tells Joel that she's convinced the shaman did something to Elliot. Joel, however, believes the shaman's rituals are just superstition. Suddenly, Elliot starts coughing up teeth, blood, and other strange objects. Candace immediately goes to Father Mayor and tells him the truth. Father Mayor comes to check on Elliot, who is acting strangely and has an extremely low body temperature. Elliot's back started showing strange, colored veins, and he was holding onto Father Mayor's hand with a death grip. This confirmed that something supernatural and seriously messed up was happening to him. Candace immediately insists they perform an exorcism, but Father Mayer explains they need permission from the church first. Even so, Candace manages to convince both Father Mayer and Joel to go through with it. Just after this, Father Mayer goes outside and runs into the shaman. The shaman says he wants to see Elliot because he's the only one who can save him. He even tells Father Mayer that his exorcism won't work because your God has no power here, but the father's faith is strong, and he doesn't listen. We then see him preparing for the exorcism, and we learn that he whips himself, a ritual some Orthodox Christians do to atone for their sins. The exorcism begins. It doesn't seem to have any effect on Elliot. Instead, he starts questioning Father Mayer's faith and becomes fully possessed. Blood pours from his eyes as he smashes the mirrors in the room. The entity possessing him screams that it's older than Jesus and that Father Mayer's God has no power here. Elliot calls Father Mayer a liar and attacks him. Father Mayer manages to pin him down and places a cross on his head, and Elliot eventually calms down and seems to return to normal. The exorcism is over, and Father Mayer thinks the entity is gone. But this turns out to be a huge mistake. Afterward, Father Mayer and Candace are talking outside when the shaman and his disciple show up. The shaman gives Candace some herbs to help with Elliot's pain and asks for a piece of Elliot's clothing. Candace, who doesn't trust him at all, tells him to leave. The disciple retorts that this land belongs to them, not Candace and Joel, the outsiders. As they leave, the shaman secretly snags one of Elliot's socks that was hanging outside to dry. That night, Candace finds Elliot missing from his bed again. He's already at Father Mayer's house, fully possessed. He attacks the father, wearing a mask and whipping him with his own scourge, calling him a liar and questioning his faith. Then, blood begins to gush from the father's eyes and mouth, and he dies. Rosa, who was walking by at that moment, sees the body and screams. Everyone gathers the next morning for the father's funeral. Elliot is back home, but Candace is convinced that the possessed Elliot is the one who killed him. After the funeral, Candace is supposed to address the community, but her mind is only on Elliot. She sees the possessed Elliot inside the church and gets into a struggle with him, knocking over a candle. Joel shows up, but Elliot is gone. Joel tries to comfort Candace, but she runs off to confront the shaman. She'd seen the shaman with Elliot's sock and demands to know what he's doing with it. The shaman tells her that a deity called Soup has possessed Elliot, but Candace isn't listening. Joel again tries to calm her, and then they hear people screaming. The candle that was knocked over had started a fire, and the entire church is now engulfed in flames. This incident completely shatters the native people's faith in Candace and Joel's religion. The possessed Elliot then attacks his own father, Joel, and injures him, questioning Joel's faith and making his inhaler disappear. Just in time, Candace arrives and saves Joel. The next morning, Joel is badly hurt, and Candace asks Rosa what kind of deity Soup is. Rosa explains that Soup is a false deity and then turns the questions on Candace, asking if she has confessed her sins and if she only applies her religious rules to others, but not herself. The questions make it clear that Rosa is moving away from Candace's religion, and in a fit of anger, Candace slaps her. Furious, Rosa tells Candace and her family to be gone by morning. Defeated, Candace finally takes Elliot to the shaman. The shaman, his disciple, Candace, and Elliot all go to the same cave where Elliot was first touched. The disciple explains that Soup cannot be defeated, they can only try to barter with it. In short, they need to offer something else to convince Soup to leave Elliot. They brought some hamsters and rats as offerings for this purpose. The ritual begins, and Elliot turns demonic again, boasting that he's the one who killed Father Mayer. The shaman and Candace drink something from a bowl, and their consciousness begins to travel with Elliot to different places. The valleys, the church, and other areas. Inside Elliot's mind, Soup asks the shaman why he allowed Candace to come and convert the locals. The shaman denies allowing it, and they start to fight. It seems like Soup is weakening, and the scene returns to the cave, where the shaman, Elliot, Candace, and the disciple are all lying on the floor. Elliot appears to be back to normal. Suddenly, the shaman sits up, now possessed by Soup. He picks up a stone and kills his disciple with it before killing himself. With the shaman gone, Soup re-enters Elliot and moves to attack Candace. In a desperate move, Candace offers a barter. She tells Soup to possess her and leave her son alone. Soup refuses, saying he doesn't want to possess adults. He wants to possess children so he can mold them as they grow. This means Candace must offer another child to save Elliot. Hearing this, Candace runs out of the cave. She finds a little girl named Thomas playing hide-and-seek nearby. Candace lures Thomas into the cave and offers her to Soup as a replacement. Just as Rahul comes looking for Thomas, he finds her frozen and stiff, which means Soup has left Elliot and possessed Thomas. In the final scene, we see Candace, Elliot, and Joel leaving the village. Candace isn't wearing her cross anymore and has nothing related to God with her. This means she's not just running from the place, she's abandoning her own religion to go back to her normal city life. And back in the valley, Thomas is now the new host of Soup. That's where the movie ends. Their mission was to baptize people like Rosa and show them the true path. But this mission also became a test of their own faith, which eventually failed. The native people in this area, in their ancient beliefs, there's a powerful and scary deity called Soup, the god of death and king of the underworld. Soup is dangerous, but the people respect him because he is ancient and powerful. They perform rituals, sacrifices, and offerings to keep him happy. In the movie, Soup was confined to a cave, sealed off by old rituals and regular sacrifices. The cave was a kind of boundary. When Elliot, chasing his toy plane, crossed that boundary, Soup was freed and immediately made Elliot his host. That's why Elliot was late for his confirmation ceremony. During the confirmation, Candace lied about Elliot's stomach ache. She did this because if the truth about him going to the cave got out, the new converts might doubt their new religion and lose trust in her. Elliot's confirmation was an important event for her to show the whole village what it was all about, so they would all embrace it. This shows us that Candace's own faith wasn't that strong to begin with, even though she was forcing it on others. As the story goes on, Candace's faith continues to weaken. At the same time, the locals' trust in her starts to break down. She sees her rituals and her god fail against Soup, and in the end, she sacrifices a local, innocent child to save her own son. This proves she didn't genuinely care about the people there. She was just trying to spread her religion, a religion she didn't fully believe in herself. By the end, she not only leaves the village but also leaves her god behind, taking off her cross. When she drives away, she only has her family, not her faith. The deeper testament of shamans seems to be that native belief systems aren't just old, they are deeply rooted, tested over generations, and connected to the land. Deities like Soup are a part of their culture, and the people understand how to deal with them through rituals, offerings, and boundaries. Candace and Joel thought converting the locals would make their lives better, but the reality is that an outsider's faith, no matter how strong it seems, can fail when it clashes with local realities. The native people's beliefs are born from their environment, history, and daily struggles. They can't be swayed by a sermon from an imported religion. The movie also shows that when two belief systems collide, the one that is more deeply connected to the land is the one that wins. Supay's survival and taking a new host in the end is a symbol that ancient forces can't be easily replaced. So that's all for today. Lot of stuff to learn from this movie. Thanks for watching.